a fourth time in 2012. And now Jimmie goes to Texas, 3 races remaining with a 2-point lead over Brad Keselowski. Also with today's win, Chevrolet has clinched the Manufacturers' Championship for the 2012 season. I believe it's the 36th title for Chevrolet and the 10th straight title for Chevrolet. So, Jimmie, congratulations. Enough of me talking. Just tell us about how the race played out for you today. Certainly starting on the pole, coming out here with the points lead. You probably couldn't script it out much better than that.
Yeah, it definitely was a strong performance for the team. You know, the start of the race went really well for us, and then the middle portion, when the sun was out, we seemed to lose our advantage a little bit and was more like a top 5 car instead of a race leading or winning car. But we kept working on it, and then our pit stops were awesome and got me track position each time, which was really, really important. And the last few stops, I think the last stop gave me the lead. So to be on the inside lane and have control of the race was huge. So from there, the conditions, the weather conditions were changing, as all of you know. Overcast clouds came in, cooler temperatures, and the balance on the racetrack changed a lot for me, and it came my way. And maybe it hurt the 15, it looked like. Maybe it hurt a couple of the other guys, but it really helped my race car. And it was nice to have Mother Nature, lend me a hand there at the end and play into what my car needed. So, we executed well today on all fronts, and we'll have a dogfight for these final 3.
We'll take questions now for Jimmie Johnson. We'll start over here with Mike. If we could get the wireless, and we'll take questions, and Chad Knauss will be here momentarily. Go ahead.
Mike Neff from FrontStretch.com. Jimmie, a couple weeks ago we went into Dover, a track that you've dominated on for some time, and it seemed like you would come out of there with an advantage, or at least gain points on Brad, and it turned tables on him, and he actually won at your place. So you mentioned on Friday that you were planning on gaining points on him again this weekend. Was there added pressure on you going into this race to make hay at this track because it has been an advantage of you versus him?
No more than any other track. I think in order to be the champion, the tracks that you can win at, you have to win at, and we did that today. Dover turned into a fuel mileage race, which isn't the best for us, and certainly plays in the 2 cars' hands. And with the final 3 tracks, at least 2 of them, if not all 3 of them, we could see that. And we're working hard to play that game if need be, and I think we're better at it than we were even at the start of the chase. So we're getting smarter and better, and we did what we needed to today for sure. And I thought their decision to stay out would cost them a few more spots at the end, but Brad did a nice job of rallying around there and staying in the top 10. It looks like.
Go ahead, David.
David Newton, ESPN.com. Jimmie, just the way that Brad came back from 32nd to get a 6th place finish, is it kind of nagging at you a little bit at all that he was just kind of hanging around and able to do that?
No, because qualifying is really an interesting thing, and it's been a sore spot for me, especially early in my career. And last year it wasn't all that good for us. This year we've been able to rebound some. Another good example would be Matt Kenseth, Jeff Burton. They're great race car drivers and great teams, and in race conditions drive to the front. And Stewart even has that a little bit, where he doesn't win a ton of poles, but certainly wins his fair share of races. So the only thing you do is you put yourself at risk. With the loss of track position at the start of a race, you're kind of in the eye of the storm, and you don't do yourself any favors on pit road, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to perform well. And we watched them closely in practice, and they had a good race car. And you might remember back to my tone on Friday after qualifying, I wasn't counting them out, just because you can't do that, and I won't do it because I've been there. And there's no, next week I can qualify 32nd. It's just I don't want to. Now that he's sitting here, he'll get real mad if I hear me say that. But qualifying is important, but it's not the end of the the whole thing.
Take this gentleman's question, and then we'll hear from Chad. Go ahead, sir.
Jimmie, Andy Markey with Race22.com. You've been in this position countless times, 5 championships, obviously. Brad Keselowski, this is his first time really seriously contending in a chase situation. Do you think that you have the upper hand, and with your experience, or do you think Brad can pull it out somehow?
I mean, anything can happen, and you know, we've done a very nice job over these 7 races to put ourselves in the points lead. You know, we've had a variety of different races finish, you know, with fuel mileage and things like that have, I think, kept us out of victory lane, and it certainly played into their hands. And you think of Dover, and I think there's another one in there. But you know, we're ready to race under any conditions, and he's a great driver, and it's a great team, and next 2 races will tell the tale. You know, anything can happen. You know, we can both wad it up next week, and Clint Boyer's your champion. You never know. We got to go race the race.
Let's hear now from our winning crew chief, and that'd be Chad Knauss. And Chad, congratulations on this win today. Certainly outstanding performance at a track that's been very good to you all. Also, this today was the 207th win for Hendrick Motorsports in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. So that's another great stat. But Chad, talk about the win today and maybe some of the things that you all did there during the course of the race to get where you were at the end.
Well, it definitely wasn't an easy weekend by any stretch. It may have looked like that, but we had to work pretty hard. Obviously, Friday went really well for us. Jimmie did an amazing job qualifying to get out there and run that lap and afford us that first pit box, which definitely helped us out today for sure. You know, qualifying is important weekly, so you got to continue to push that. And we had to work really hard on our race car today, and I have to put a lot of compliments towards our pit crew because they did a really good job. We made some significant changes to the race car, and the stops that they had were awesome. Even on the stops that we were making big adjustments, they didn't falter at all, and they did a really good job, and that kept up our track position. Obviously, Jimmie did a remarkable job of searching and moving around. When the sun came out, the track got really tight, and we fell back a little bit, and he kept his head in the game. We made some big swings to the chassis again, and finally got it a lot closer there towards the end of the race. But I think a true testament to Jimmie is the way he can go out there and manage the race even if we're not leading, fall back if we need to a little bit, and then he's able to charge back up after he gets his groove and some of the other guys burn their tires off. So Jimmie's experience definitely came into play today, maybe more so than what we've seen in the chase so far. And, you know, I mean, that's pretty impressive to be able to come back from the race car we had where he could have easily pushed the car too hard, burned up the brakes, or blown a right front tire, or done any number of things, and he had the wherewithal not to do that.
Let's go to press box now for questions for either Chad or Jimmie. Go ahead.
Damian Sortel at Danville Register and B. This is for both Jimmie and Chad. Regards, 5 of your 7 wins here at Martinsville have come in the fall, and 3 of those, 06, 07, 08, you used to springboard yourself to championships. What is it about here racing in the fall that makes you so good, and how are you going to use this race to get the points lead and ultimately go for your 6th championship?
Spring to fall, I think it's just the way it works out. I mean, we're competitive in both, and nothing comes to mind as to why the fall is, it's weighted with more wins. But, you know, we need every point we can get. We got almost every one this weekend, so that's cool. And we just race hard. I mean, you know, Texas is a total opposite from a setup standpoint than what we have here. The demands on the car and the way you drive. So we'll take whatever mental momentum and confidence that today's win brings us. But we're well aware that we got to go to work next week, and it's a whole new battle. So we'll do more of the same. And you know, we got to be at our best in order to be the champions. And I think we're showing that we're in form and ready to do that.
Let's stay up in the press box. Go ahead. Or Chad, you want to take that question too? Same.
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. Jimmie, it's no surprise that you won at Martinsville. It's no surprise that Brad Keselowski finished 6th. What is a surprise is that Denny Hamlin had a disaster. And how does it make you feel for the guy that was runner-up to you in your last championship that he's essentially gone now with 3 to go out of the chase?
You know, what it does to my mind is say that, you know, anything can happen. I'm sure, I think it was an electrical problem, so I'm told, or what we've heard so far. That can happen to anybody. So I'm not smiling. I'm not anything. I mean, it can happen to me. It can happen to the 2. You know, it's just one of those kind of voodoo things you don't do in this sport. with 3 races left, anything can happen. And I know it is frustrating for me to say that to all of you, and you're looking for somebody to call a shot, but you got to play the game, you got to run the race, and we could have some mechanical issue or an electrical issue or an accident on the track. With 3 races left, there's a lot of laps to be run, and so I'm glad to be in my position and not Denny's, but it's hard to say he's out of it yet.
Stay upstairs. Go ahead, press box.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. I think it was Chad at some point during the race said, "Sorry, bud, you got to let him go. You got to let him go." When Boyer was putting pressure on you from behind, and you would not relinquish the spot. Were you just thinking, big picture? I'm not going to lay down.
No, I mean, once he got inside of me, then I gave him the spot, and that was it. He was getting to my bumper in the center of the corner, and Chad was just trying to remind me big picture thinking. And, it's tough to have the delicate touch multiple times when you're trying to bump somebody out of the way. So Chad was just reminding me to be smart. And once Clint got inside, I gave him the position, and off he went.
Stay upstairs. Other questions in the press box?
Jimmie, Justin Bishop, WAMV Radio. You and Jeff have had some incredible battles here. When he got on your bumper there with about 30 to go, how much were you driving in the rearview mirror?
Well, he's awesome here. There's no doubt about it. And I've lost a few. He's caught me at the end, and we had one heck of a finish to the checkers one time. And I was just calling on my experience of years past and trying to remember the mistakes I made and not to do that again. And I found a nice little rhythm and yarded him and got some space, which was nice. And then that last caution came out, and I wished I didn't want to see it clearly, but we still got the job done after that.
Anything else in the press box?
Yeah, one.
Dustin Long of SportsIllustrated.com. Jimmie, how is Brad Keselowski and the 2 team different from the competitors that you've raced for the championship in years past? Obviously you've had so much success, but what's so different about them, or are there things that are similar to them with other guys that you have defeated or raced for championships in your past?
Thinking different is hard. The first thing that comes to mind for me is how when you get to the end of the year, what people are capable of to put themselves in position to win championships. And the championships I've won, I saw a lot of amazing things out of my competition, and I'm certainly seeing that with Brad. So it's just that familiar. It's a familiar space where you can't count them out, and that's the reason I had the tone in my voice in qualifying. They had a poor qualifying effort, but I knew they'd be there when the checkered fell. They're a good team, and I have to expect that. I think we all do, and that goes for the rest of the year. So I guess I see more of a familiar, never quit, fight to the end attitude out of the 2 team that I've seen with some of the best in the sport. If it's Tony Stewart or Jeff Gordon. Denny, when I raced him, Mark Martin, they have that tenacity to stay after it, and they're doing a great job.
Anything else in the press box?
Clear.
Let's come back downstairs here. Bob Pockris had a question, so did Nate Ryan.
I'm Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Jimmie, you said something like you feel like you're kind of in your best form right now. I'm curious, how long have you felt that kind of maybe your team is peaking at this moment?
Yeah, I feel kind of mid to late summer. We started hitting on all 8 cylinders, and I guess the Indy weekend would probably be a good, landmark weekend for us. And we were around it and hitting on things, but starting at Indy, everything started clicking really, really well for us. I feel as focused and prepared as I've ever been in my career. So I feel the same for Chad, Greg Ives, Ron Malik. We have some very smart guys with experience on this team, and everybody is managing their emotions well, working very hard on their individual positions, and executing. Then our young group of over-the-wall guys, they're standing the test of time. I mean, they're dealing with a lot of pressure each time on pit road, and they've been executing very, very well. So proud of where the entire team is.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Clint Boyer is still, I guess, sort of in this at 24, 26 back, but I think I heard you guys say, or maybe it's Jimmie said, that now you can kind of focus a little bit more on the 2. Does it make it a little bit easier with the 11 being eliminated today, pretty much, that it's 48 versus the 2 over the final 3, and you guys can focus on them a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the day I was wondering, I could see where the 11 was most of the time and wondering where the 2 was. So now, with the gap we have back to 3rd, be just focused on the 2. I mean, I'll be well aware if the 15 or the 5 is leading the race and I'm running 15th or something at the end. I'll still understand what's going on, but the focus becomes a little more precise on the 2 car than the 3 that the other 2, including myself, would be the 3, but the other 2 cars that I was looking at in the last few weeks.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Otter, Charles Observer for Jimmie, and if you would answer it. You guys had such a remarkable run of success 5 years in a row. When you lost, when you didn't win last season, to be back in the position of winning another one, is it more of a relief, or is it more of a kind of an expectation that you still had everything that you had before and have that same opportunity again?
For me, I have no expectations, and that's something that I carried on my shoulders last year. And I guess part of the pressure I've spoken about that was gone after losing last year's championship was, the expectations were wrapped up in that. And this year's been a lot different. The pressure is there. Pressure is always there. You can't hide from it. But it's different. I mean, it's more about me doing the best job I can and this team doing the best job they can than it is keeping a streak alive or, for other reasons. This is purely our reasons. As Team 48, we want to win, nothing else. And I really like the purity of, our desire right now, where it's coming from. It's coming from a really good place. And, it's neat to see everybody on the team, kind of clean sheet of paper, open mind, and just racing.
Honestly, it's funny because everybody always refers back to the 5 championships, and we were battling for championships well before we won our first 5, and we've been together for 10 plus years, and I can't think of a season where we weren't in the championship hunt. So I think that's something that this team and Jimmie is built around, and when it's time to go and make this stuff happen, I think that's when this team excels. The regular season is very important. We understand that you've got to build that foundation throughout the course of the first 26 races. But once it's time to go, I think that everybody says you can flip a switch and so on and so forth, but I think the thing that we do better is we're able to pull from our past and get out there and do what it is that we need to do. Jimmie had mentioned our pit crew being young. It's their second year for those gentlemen really being together the way they are, and I feel right now they're one of the best pit crews on pit road. And if you look at Ron Malik and the knowledge that he has and the way that he knows how to work on a race car, along with the other guys on the 48 team, I think when it comes time for postseason, that's when this team really steps up and it's just ready to do the job.
Let's get Steve, and we'll come back to Nate.
Steve Richards with PRN. Both of you, Jimmie first. Chevrolet's now won the Manufacturers Championship 10 years in a row, 699 wins for Chevrolet. Can you talk about how satisfying it is for you as a professional to lock that up for them?
Yeah, I mean, all I've raced my whole career has been Chevys, so anything I can do to help them with stats, I'm very happy and proud to be a part of it. We work so close with them and know how much racing means to them as a brand and how important it is to the overall vision of Chevrolet that we're happy to carry the torch today and help them secure that championship. So it's a great thing. A lot of great friends at Chevy, and they've had an amazing year when you look at IRL and NASCAR. I think some of their other touring divisions have won too. So very successful year.
I'm real proud of it. The fact that we've actually been able to clinch the Manufacturers Championship for Chevrolet a couple of times, and it's always nice to see everybody from Chevrolet step up and be happy when we're in victory lane after we've been able to do that. So they do an awful lot for us. They've done a huge venture with the 2013 car of really trying to get that car prepped and ready for us to go into competition. So a lot of long, hard hours for them going into next season, and obviously them laying down what we needed with the car that we're currently racing is pretty impressive, and it's an honor to be able to race with those guys.
Go ahead, Nate.
I have one for Chad, one for Jimmie. Before you arrived, Chad, Jimmie was talking about fuel mileage and how integral that's become to success in the chase. And he said that you guys have improved a lot since the beginning of the chase, and you're looking at over the last 3 races. I just wanted you to address that.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil. We've said it time and time again that about a third of the races come down to fuel mileage, and it's not something that we really had to always worry about because we were always fast, and we were able to do what it was that we needed to do. With the competition being as close as what it is now, you've got to make sure you're pulling out all the stops on all levels. Jimmie has put in a concerted effort to try to learn and understand more about fuel mileage, and it's helped us out a ton. And everybody on the 48 team we work on that more than what we have in the past. Excuse me, because it opens up options, and you've got to have options when you have competition as tough as what it is.
Jimmie, I assume coming in here, you guys probably felt like this was a place where you could take a chunk out of the two's lead or take the lead. The last 3 races of the year, Texas, Phoenix, Homestead, are you looking at any race in particular there, or is it pretty much just dead even? Do you feel like you versus the 2, and it could go either way to any of those 3 races?
I think it's going to be pretty even. Kansas surprised me a little bit that the 11 and the 2, they ran the top 10, but they weren't up there fighting for the win. So I feel like I left some points on the table with the mistake I made there. But mile and a halfs in general, it's 11 and 2 are both very quick. So I'm expecting them. I keep thinking about the 11. I guess he has fallen back some, but the 2 for sure is going to be a factor at those tracks. I remember racing with him at Phoenix for 3rd or 4th in the spring. Texas, I would assume, would be good for him, and Homestead with the fuel mileage stuff. I think they'll be fast 1, and then 2, be in a nice position with their fuel economy.
Any additional questions for Jimmie or Chad? Finish up over there, I guess, with Mike.
Chad, you mentioned that having that first pit stall was an advantage today. The last 2 pit stops when you came in, you took 4 tires and then 2 tires. Was there an audible in play where you looked at what the other teams were doing as they were coming down pit road for what you did, or did you already have your plan that you were doing 4 and 2 on those last 2 stops?
No, I wish I could say it was that dramatic that we were watching everybody else, but that wasn't the case. We had actually already discussed that pre-race, our engineers and myself, and felt that if we got into that position, that's what we wanted to do. Fortunately enough, the 2 and the 88 stayed out. And if they hadn't, probably wouldn't have been that much of a difference. But, yeah, we knew what we wanted to do there. That was kind of structured at that point. But leading up to there, midway through the race, obviously we didn't know what was going to happen unless we got the race car right. And once we got the race car right, we felt like that was the right call.
You got a question? Let's finish up with that gentleman right there.
Jimmie, my understanding is that you used to be a water polo player back in El Cajon, and I was wondering if there's anything that you learned in the team setting, playing water polo, that you can apply to being with the 48 team and the cohesiveness that you've had with the Lowe's crew that you've learned there.
Not so much from water polo, but on the swim team, my swim coach was very cued in with visualization, and we knew our swim stroke and how many strokes took to the end of the pool, your turn, and back. And she would sit there with us while we were stretching and work on, give us all stopwatches and have us visualize our swim. So I think, in today's world and how you have to show up and be on first practice and qualifying trim and our tire allotment, all the things that play into that's something that I can say I've carried over from childhood, from team sports when I was younger.
Carlos from Fort Worth, going to finish it up. I bet it's about Texas. Go ahead.
It is. Actually, it's about Casey. He was 3rd today. What have you seen from him and the way he's kind of patterned what he's doing this year? Maybe off of you, maybe off of Jeff.
Well, he's a great driver, great person, and very happy to have him at Hendrick to start with. And if you look at every year, he finishes off strong. So I really felt like, if we got him in the chase, that you do a great job and be a threat, and he's certainly showing that. So, this year has been a great year, and I think he and that team are just going to grow and get stronger as they get more time, in the Hendrick system, and he's going to be a threat, this year and then for years to come.
Congratulations to the number 48 team, and we look forward to Texas. Thank you.